really hate the Armor All. That is no friend of mine. I will never use it on any of my vehicles. This is just asking for trouble. But hey, I'm back on the Canadian side. The vehicle's imported, or exported, I should say. And I am ready to make the long drive back to Nova Scotia, which is about 7 hours. Breakfast, it's about 7 o'clock in the morning. I crossed the border at around 6. And that last hour I've been screwing around with these cameras. So now we're going to actually get on the road. But I am so glad to be back home in Canada. The last 72 hours I had to spend in the United States, and I haven't been there in 8 months, and all of my anxiety and stress came back within minutes of being in the United States. It took about an hour, and I was all stressed out. And then I think it's Thursday today. I think on Tuesday night I had a pretty bad panic attack. And the thing is I've given up all of my medications. I'm not on any medications now except for my inhaler to help me breathe because I've got asthma. And so I've been without any kind of antipsychotics or any antidepressants for about 8 months. Actually, on my antidepressants, it's been over a year. It's been almost 2 years. But my antipsychotics are what help me keep from spinning out and helped with my anxiety a lot. And I'd usually take them at night before I went to bed because they do have a drowsiness factor. But I stopped taking them when I got to Canada because I didn't feel I needed them anymore. And to my credit, I was right. I don't really need them. But that did not make the last 72 hours any easier. Now, what I did was a kind of a life hack. I wouldn't recommend doing this unless you got a good liver. Is I took Advil PM right before I went to bed. And that helped a lot. At least let me get some sleep. Let me kind of calm down a little bit. But overall, I'm just glad to be home, or headed home, because I just don't feel like I belong in the United States anymore. There's not a place for me here anymore, or there anymore. But we're on the Trans-Canada, heading back towards Nova Scotia. The border crossing was pretty successful. It took a little longer at the U.S. border to export the vehicle, which I found out I didn't need to do. But I had read somewhere that it can be complicated if you go back to the U.S. and you haven't exported your vehicle and you've got Canadian plates or some shit like that. So I just wanted to be safe. But then when I stopped at the Canadian border, it was pretty funny. I already paid the RIV fee. I just got to get the inspection and get it registered in Canada. And it was not explained to me well that once I left the border the last time with the paperwork for the vehicle, I could have just done that and been done with it. So tomorrow I'm going to try and get in for a RIV inspection at one of the Canadian tires near me. I should be able to get that done. But then I got to go to Access Nova Scotia and get the registration, but I also got to talk to my insurance company in Canada and get that set up for this vehicle. But overall I'm very happy. I get to keep the vehicle that I researched for months, and I get to use it for what I intended to use it for, which is camping in the backwoods. So overall, even though it was kind of a waste of time to a certain extent, the last 72 hours, I do have a lot of peace of mind. I was really stressed coming back across the border. I wanted everything to go well. Fortunately, everything went well. So now all I have to do is get it inspected. It should pass. There are no outstanding safety recalls. But I did get an email about a different recall of 450,000 vehicles for Ford SUVs, and I immediately panicked because somewhere in my gut I knew it was going to be the Expedition, but it's Expeditions from 2018 on, and this is a 2016, so I'm very, very happy that I don't have to worry about that. I can just get the inspection done, get the vehicle registered and cleared, and get on with my life. Out the right-hand side, you're going to see more of the ocean when we get kind of closer to that area, but we're crossing New Brunswick right now. A lot of beautiful views. It's a really great drive. Even though it's a long drive, it's a fantastic drive visually. It's just not boring. Lots of nice rock cuts as we kind of get into the foothills and whatnot. And then when we get to Nova Scotia, you're going to get to see Kelly's Mountain from a different angle, and you're going to get to see Great Bredore Lake. That'll be on camera 3, and I'll switch between them. So going from left to right, the camera that's pointed at me is camera 1. The camera pointed out the front is camera 2, and the camera pointed out the right side is camera 3. That's just the way I do it. It's kind of the traditional studio way, and it makes sense to me. So if I can deal with it, you can. But I probably won't have all 3 cameras on the screen at the same time. At the most, I'll probably have 2. And yeah, so enjoy the ride with me. I'm gonna eat some breakfast, so normally chewing. Got myself an apple fritter, and then I got a muffin for later. Standard fare. And then I got a black raspberry Yuma or whatever it is drink, sparkling beverage. And then a peach juice thing. But yay, I'm back in Canada. I couldn't get out of the U.S. quick enough because I guess in Calais, which is where I was staying, it was going to get close to 90 today. And I'm hoping to be into Nova Scotia by the time I hit the hottest part of the day, because in my hometown, it's only supposed to get up to 75. One of the advantages of living close to the Atlantic Ocean is that it regulates the temperature, so it's a little bit cooler up there. But yeah, all the way across New Brunswick, it's gonna be close to 90 today. So I kind of wanted to get on the road early. I was hoping to get on the road earlier than this, but it took a little longer at the U.S. Customs office to get the vehicle exported than I thought. But it's done now, and happy days are here again. As you can see, absolutely beautiful landscape. Absolutely beautiful. Nice view of the rock cuts. I guess if I was going to give anybody advice, if you're thinking about moving or getting out of a stale pattern, do it. I had a lot of apprehension about completely pulling the plug on my life in the United States, and because it was kind of the devil you know, if that makes sense. Where up here, moving as far away as I did, I'm 3,300 kilometers from where my other house was in the United States, where we used to live. And we talked about it for about 2 or 3 years before we actually made the decision to move. And when we kind of were hitting that last few months to the run up to moving, I really put up some resistance. I wasn't like a jerk about it, but I just really had a lot of anxiety and pushback to moving and relocating my whole life to Canada. And up until we crossed the border the first time with our trailer and the animals and my son and my wife, until we crossed the border for the first time, I wasn't comfortable. It was a situation where our lives in the United States were not what we deserved. They were not what we wanted them to be. And the sad thing is we did everything right. I went to school, got a degree, tried to work full time, and we did everything right. Had our son, we paid our bills, didn't have a mortgage, didn't have a lot of debt. We did everything right. And, well, right by society's expectations anyway. And we kept getting smacked. Every time we turned around, it was something. And it's like how much bad luck can you have before you say, hey, you know what? It's not bad luck. This is a system that's designed to keep us where we're at. And that part of it, when that hit me in the face and said, yeah, why are you here? What are you doing here? That changed everything. That changed everything for me. And I sold out. I bought into everything. And from that point on, my life started getting better. There's a book called Do the Work. It's by Stephen Pressfield. And I've read those. There's 3 of them in the series, and I've read all of them multiple times. But I didn't get it until I actually accepted that I needed to move. And change my life. And once I accepted that and I stopped fighting against it, now it wasn't like I was arguing, I wasn't like being overt about it. I was very introverted. I would like, my barriers were all inside my mind. I would drag my feet in packing. I would, have kind of like feel like packing today. I just don't feel good. You know, and I put up these barriers. And I really thought that I was sick. I really thought that I wasn't feeling well. But really what it was my mind saying, no, you need to stay in this comfortable situation, which was not comfortable at all. I didn't understand that resistance is real. And once I bought in and I accepted, hey, this is happening, the train's leaving the station, my life got so much better. And, you know, the first few months that I was here, it was just all about healing. Just doing whatever I felt like doing just to feel something. And so I played a lot of video games, did a lot of reading, hung out with my wife a lot, you know, focused on making the house the way we wanted it. And when I started doing that, incredible things started to happen. I didn't need my medication so much. I didn't get so stressed out going out of the house and interacting with my new community. I didn't have a problem going and doing everyday things, going shopping and getting the car fixed or serviced or whatever. I didn't have so much trouble taking my son to school and picking him up. I didn't have trouble going to the Mayflower Mall in Sydney and walking around and going Christmas shopping. I didn't have all these hang-ups. They started to kind of melt away. And then I got it in my head in March, hey, I'm going to take a documentary filmmaking class. And the first one I took was just kind of a seminar, like a 12-hour seminar. And I really enjoyed it. And I learned a lot. So then I signed up for the next part, which was like an 8-week course. And I started revisiting some of the things that I dreamed about doing, which was loading up my truck with all my camera equipment and my computers, and going and just traveling and shooting footage and talking to people, and things got a little bit better. And then I started, you know, thinking about, well, you know, I see all these guys who are out roughing it or camping out of their vehicles and doing things with their cabins, and it's like I really want to do something like that, and I've wanted to for a while now, and now it seemed feasible. So I bought a park pass, and I bought all my camping gear, and I bought all the equipment I needed to do this, and things started to get better. And, you know, Michelle, my wife, has been very supportive in this whole process. She wants to see me be me again, because I haven't been me for a long time. And you know, filmmaking was my passion, or is my passion. And my definition of filmmaking isn't necessarily like big screen Hollywood type stuff. It's like anything that tells a narrative story or tells a story is filmmaking. And so I started thinking, like, okay, well, what can I do just me? Because I don't have, you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars to dump into crew and cast and marketing for stuff. I'm like, well, okay, well, I've got two at the time. I've got 2 YouTube channels. I can grow those and work on stuff for those. I have 2 websites, 3 technically, so I can start devoting time to those, writing blogs and you know, putting up what I know, sharing what I know, and sharing my experiences. And things started to get a lot better, and I started to believe in myself more. And then last week was kind of the first step in me pursuing the dream of getting out in my vehicle and camping and shooting footage and making films about where I live and what I do and who I am. And all of a sudden things just kind of clicked into place, and this is who I am, and this is, you know, yes, traveling to the United States to export my vehicle is a huge pain in the ass, because it's a 7-hour drive one way or a 12-hour ferry ride to Bangor, Maine, and I don't enjoy that. I don't enjoy that part of it. But the point is it's an ends to a means. And once I accepted that, once I acknowledged, hey, this has got to get done or you're never going to be able to move on with your life, things got a little easier. And so to go back to my comment about Steven Pressfield and his book, Do the Work, this is the work, lining things up so that I can actually get out there and start living my life and making my movies and do the work that I'm meant to do. I've said this to Dominic and I've said this to my wife. I was put on this planet to be a filmmaker, and it took me a long time to figure that out. And there's not a single part of filmmaking that I absolutely do not love and cherish. Writing the scripts, shooting the footage, directing actors, marketing the film, editing is probably my favorite part of the whole filmmaking process because I'm good at it. And when I ran away from my passion and I tried to be responsible and do the right thing for other people, not necessarily for me, all it did was make me sick and made me miserable because I was avoiding my work. I was avoiding what needed to get done. And what needed to get done was I needed to pursue my filmmaking career with all of the fervor and fire that I have. And it took me a long time to realize that. I was sick for a long, long time. And now that I am taking steps to pursue that end, my life is so much better. So my advice is get out there and do the work. You know what you need to do. You know what you're here for. And I think it takes a while to figure that out. So if you're like in your late teens, early 20s, even your mid 20s, and you don't know, that's fine. But you best be questing for it. You best be searching for it and trying to figure it out. But you got to do the hard work. You got to sit down with yourself and you got to think and read and research and say, okay, what makes me tick? What am I all about? And it's going to take other people to help you find that path. For me, it was my wife and my father-in-law and a very special group of people that I went to school with at UW River Falls, and a very good friend of mine who I met at a warehouse of all places. You never know when those people are going to enter your life and change the direction of it in the best way possible. And I get a little emotional when I talk about this, because if it weren't for those people, I would still be working in a warehouse. I would still be miserable, and I would still be struggling to figure it out. And they helped point me in the right direction, and for that I'm eternally grateful. So get out there and do it. Do the hard work. And it's going to be miserable at times, because that's just the way it is. Because you're bearing your soul to figure out who you are. And all I can say is you got to do the hard work to get anything worthwhile. And maybe your life's passion or your purpose is to go camping and fishing and do just that. And work a job that doesn't mean anything so you can pay for the things you want to do. And that is awesome. That is, hey, you do you. But for me, I need to do this. I need to pursue my film career, because if I don't, I'll be right back where I was 6 years ago. And I can't go back to that. That'd be the end of me. Very, very literally, that would be the end of me. It's what made me sick to begin with. And so whatever your passion is, just go for it. Go for it. It could be becoming a mechanic. It could be being an engineer, or maybe you want to be a janitor. It doesn't matter what it is. If it's important to you, if that's what you're passionate about, go for it. Because ignoring what that is, ignoring what that part of you is, it's only going to make you sick. It's only going to make you miserable. And you only got this one life, I don't know what happens after we're gone. But I do know what happens when you're here if you don't do what you're meant to do. And fortunately for me, I had people in my life that pointed me in the right direction and kept me alive when I needed to be kept alive, and reignited that part of me that I had forgotten about. I won't say lost, because I still have all the skills and the training at my fingertips, but I forgot about it for a while, and I'm not going back to that. I can't go back to that. So whatever happens over the next 6 months to a year, I'm not letting it go. At this point, if I go broke doing this, I go broke doing this. But I have to really do the work, and I have to push myself to those points of discomfort that not a lot of people are willing to go to. And again, I'm blessed in the sense that I have a wife and a son who support me and who believe in me. And I have a great group of friends who believe in me and support me. Because this can't happen in a vacuum. And none of this would be possible if I'd stayed in the lane that I was in. And it's scary. It's scary making a huge change in your life like that. But at the end of the day, it's well worth it. It's well worth it because it's everything. This is the only part of the drive that makes me uncomfortable. Going down through here. It's a lot like driving in Minneapolis-St. Paul, which I don't enjoy. But in a 7-hour trip, if this is the worst that I have to deal with, no big deal. But this is a lot like the 35E interchange. I don't really care for it. I think it's people just don't know how to drive. Well, we take the big bridge across. From there, pretty much a straight shot. Cargo ship in. Can't see it very well, but it's there. I don't know if they're loading or unloading. I think they're unloading. We just stay right here. So as you can see, this throughway is very narrow, and that's why I don't enjoy driving across this. There's just a lot of people who don't know how to navigate. It's a nice sounding car.
quiet, yeah. We were built to thrive, yeah. I think that we've all had enough. What keeps you up at night, yeah. Make all the demons quiet, yeah. We were built to thrive, yeah. I think that we've all had enough. Yeah, I think that we've all had enough. Sick of dealing with the old plan. They know that we're calling it wrong. You got me like, oh yeah, I think that we've all had enough. Sick of dealing with the old plan. They know that we're calling it wrong. Hey, it's too late to try to go contain it. A generation fueled by creation. We live lives on a small screen nation. We control the airwaves, no negotiation. I refuse to think we need saving. Something good will come from creation. And when we think that the world is too anxious, we'll adapt, evolve, survive, and save it. What keeps you up at night, yeah. Make all the demons quiet, yeah. We were built to thrive, yeah. I think that we've all had enough. What keeps you up at night, yeah. Make all the demons quiet, yeah. We were built to thrive, yeah. I think that we've all had enough. Yeah, I think that we've all had enough. Sick of dealing with the old plan. They know that we're calling it wrong. You got me like, oh yeah, I think that we've all had enough. Sick of dealing with the old plan. They know that we're calling it wrong. Hey, oh yeah, I think that we've all had enough. Sick of dealing with the old plan. They know that we're calling it wrong. You got me like, oh yeah, I think that we've all had enough. Sick of dealing with the old plan. They know that we're calling it wrong.
Miles and miles and miles of wilderness. Love it. Driving across Canada, you realize how big it is. It's kind of wild. Like, that way is the ocean, but that way is miles and miles of wilderness. So, you kind of get an idea. Well, you can't really, I don't know how to put it into words. You don't understand how big Canada is until you drive across it. And when we came across back in September and October, we came across on the Canadian side because we'd not traveled we hadn't traveled to Nova Scotia using just the Canadian side. We had used the US side. And I gotta be honest, going across the Canadian side was so much more beautiful than the US side, because the US side is all like, freeways and tollways, and it's nice, but going across Illinois and Indiana and Ohio and Michigan was brutal. But coming across the northern route, I would, if you were to travel from the Midwest across to go to the Maritimes, either New Brunswick or Nova Scotia or even Prince Edward Island, I would strongly recommend going the northern route. It's a little bit longer. It adds like 1 day to your trip. But if you go the way we went, and we went all the way along the St. Lawrence Seaway, it was absolutely gorgeous. It was just incredible. And I'd never seen the St. Lawrence Seaway, so that was pretty cool too. But we stayed at Airbnbs the whole way, except for 2 days we had to stay in a hotel. Other than that, it was Airbnbs the whole way, and it was fantastic. And I can't stress enough how awesome it is. You go to an Airbnb and you can pile in your own food or whatever and make meals along the way, and you're comfortable because you have TVs and you have couches and you have actual really nice beds in most places. So it's almost like renting an apartment for a night. And that's the only way I'll go now. Just this trip alone, going to Calais, I stayed in an Airbnb in Calais with for 3 nights, 4 days, and it was awesome. It was like a 1-bedroom apartment, and it had big screen TV and had a kitchen and a dining area and separate bedroom and bathroom. It was pretty awesome. So I can't complain about Airbnb. They've all been good except for one exception. There was a place we stayed in Place Bay that was less than great. But I think it was more because of the location than it was the Airbnb itself. So when you're traveling, I would strongly recommend doing Airbnb if you can. Oh my God, look at that view. So incredible. So incredible. Can't quite see the ocean from here, but still the view out that window is amazing. There's another one that's coming up. It's going to be even more vast. I mean, how can you be unhappy with that view? I mean, look at that. It's just so amazing. It's so amazing. The closest that we have to terrain like this in Wisconsin and Minnesota is up by Lake Superior. Now, I grew up not too far from Lake Superior. When I lived in Rice Lake, when I grew up there, I was about an hour and a half away. And so every once in a while, my dad and my brother and my sister and I, because my mom worked as an EMT, we would drive up to Lake Superior and go visit Superior Point. Whatever that big long point is, right off of the Wisconsin side of Lake Superior. And there's a huge beach there. And we go run around there for a while. And then as I got older, into high school and early college, I would drive up there and hang out with friends. We would go up to Duluth occasionally, and we would go to the Brule River, go fishing, and the Nemacolin canoeing. And so I have a very strong relationship or strong emotions tied to the Lake Superior area, or that area in Wisconsin and Minnesota. Later on, with my wife and my son, we'd go up the North Shore and hit Betty's Pies and Taconite Harbor, all the little burgs along there, just to Gooseberry Falls and just to explore that area. And I absolutely fell in love with it. I have some video out there that I shot the one day on my on my Two Cows Gaming channel. But I miss that part of Wisconsin, and if I were to ever actually go back for a visit, that's where I would go. I'd go to the Duluth area, the Superior area. There's a town up there called Superior, Ashland, all along that bay, Bayfield, Washburn. I just love that part of Wisconsin so much. This area here kind of reminds me a little bit of that. Heavy forest on all around you, and big water, because even though it's a lake, it's technically an inland freshwater sea. That's how big Lake Superior is. And, I just have very fond memories of being up there, camping on Madeline Island, and fishing off of Madeline Island, and charter boat fishing, and all of that. It's very special to me. And so when we were talking about moving to Canada, I wanted to get back to that. I wanted to get back to being by big water, being out in the woods, camping, fishing. I don't know that I'll ever go hunting again. It's kind of run its course. I used to deer hunt, and then I found out I was allergic to the hide. I used to bird hunt and duck hunt. It just lost its luster to me. I like being out in the woods with a camera. So when I do go out in the woods, that's what I do, is I take my cameras with me. So that's kind of part of the reason why I'm so looking forward to this summer, is I want to get it all back. For a long time I was struggling mentally, and I walked away from a lot of things and a lot of people and things that made me unhappy. And I'm taking it back, all of it. I know I sound a little bit like the Goonies there, but this is a clean slate for me. I'm taking back my life. I'm taking back who I am. I'm taking back all the things that I left behind or lost. Because I owe it to myself. I owe it to my family to be that guy, to be the person that's happy with himself, to be happy in my body, be happy with who I am. And that's another reason. It's like I can go hiking. I can start doing things to take care of my health. Get out in nature is tremendously good for your health. It's been proven that if you live or live near or spend a lot of time out in the wilderness, it has positive impacts on your health. Microbes in the dirt help make you healthier. Instances of asthma and things like that go down when you are very active and out in the woods. And it's not true for everybody, but there's a growing body of work that supports that, that theory. And then also taking control of what I eat. Starting probably Monday, I am going to be reprogramming my diet to eat a little bit healthier, and take care of myself, and exercise more. And that's part of a documentary that I'm working on. I'm 53, and 54 is getting closer fast. And I need to be there for my son as long as I can be. My son's on the spectrum, and he's learning to cope, but he's still kind of behind his peers a little bit. As far as social norms and social exchanges and things like that, and being able to function on his own is tough. I learned from an acquaintance when I was hospitalized that the only thing you can do is embrace the suck. And for me, that meant doing the work to get healthy again. And now I'm in a position where I can actually do that. And so I'm gonna grab onto it and just go for it. And I'm not talking just physically healthy. I'm talking mentally healthy. What are you here for if you aren't engaged in your own life? If you're just basically clocking hours until you die, something's got to change. Something's got to change, because that's an awful way to look at the world. That's an awful way to look at your life. I'm just here until I die. I'm just putting in my hours, hitting the time clock, earning money for a retirement that I'm not going to be able to enjoy because I didn't take care of myself for one reason or another. And I just am done. I'm done doing that. I need to take care of myself. I took care of myself for a long, long time. I exercised regularly. I ate good. I took care of myself for a long time, and then about 6-7 years ago, I just it all fell apart on me, and it's time to take it back. I got a lot of lost time to make up for. At some point, I will talk about mental health. I think it's part of the reason I'm still alive is because I was meant to talk about my journey so that I can maybe help somebody else get through their dark journey and pay it forward, so to speak. So I will be sharing kind of my experiences with you on that. I always feel that I'm one of the lucky ones. Now, if you'll just excuse me, I'm going to eat this muffin. So I want to make time. Oh, man. What a trip. All that running around just to get a fucking document stamped. Still, not the worst trip I've had to take since I've been up here. Way back in November, we had to drive to Halifax to the bonded warehouse there to expedite our personal effects that we shipped to Nova Scotia. We had to clear them through customs. It took 15 minutes. 5-hour drive each way, 15 minutes at the customs, at the warehouse. It's funny when you've lived away from the United States for so long, and with everything that's been going on down there with immigration and everything, even though I'm a middle-aged white dude, U.S. citizen, there's that small part of you that's like, if I go back down there, will they let me back across the border? Like I wasn't worried about getting into the U.S. I was worried about leaving the U.S. And it's not rational, it's not logical, it doesn't make sense, but just there was a part of me that's like, I'm afraid that they're not going to let me back into Canada, or they're not going to let me leave. Even though Canada has been my home for the last 8 months, I've got my permanent residence card, I got everything to be here legally. There's that small part of you that just doesn't want to believe it's true. And that's how my anxiety works. It takes like the most unlikely scenario, like it's possible but wildly unlikely. It takes those scenarios and then it spins them out into these big things where you start to worry about getting arrested and getting handcuffed and being put in jail, and it's just like it just kind of feeds into itself. And so like last night I didn't sleep very well at all. I think I went to bed about 10 o'clock, and I laid in bed for an hour, finally passed out. I woke up half a dozen times. I'm gonna say I maybe got 5 hours of sleep, 6 tops, all because of the way my brain kind of spins things. And it's innocuous. I mean, it's not like it used to be, but it still kind of gives you pause, and it still plays tricks on you. And it's hard to sometimes separate yourself from catastrophizing. Now, last night it was fairly harmless because I knew in my heart that I was going to be allowed to come back because I have all my legal documentation. The only question was the vehicle, but it still spun it out, right? But the panic attack that I had on Tuesday, that was for real. I was really freaking out. And fortunately, Michelle, my wife, she knows how to word things to calm me down. And my friends, I reached out to them and they helped calm me down. But for a while there, I was really, really spinning out. And, and I haven't had an anxiety attack, I want to say, in over a year. And my anxiety attacks, I don't get a lot of the hyperventilating, but I do get a lot of ruminating and a lot of catastrophizing and a lot of like worst case scenario, what if thinking. And so then my mind starts racing. And that's how my panic attacks kind of strike. And then, like, on Tuesday night, I was really flipped out for about 2 hours. But then I turned on, I want to say Top Gear or music or something, or I started playing a video game on my Nintendo Switch just to kind of center myself after I chatted with my wife and chatted with my friends, and that seemed to calm me down. But yeah, it was pretty uncomfortable there for a while. And then last night, I was just nervous. This is all part of like a turbine or something. Looks like it might be part of a big turbine or something. That's massive. Ooh. And now you are actually going to get to see the causeway, because you can see it in the distance here. Wait for it. Across the water there is Cape Breton Island. There's the causeway. That bridge looking thing out there. And they do have a boat in today by the pit. Sweet. Oh, sweet Christmas. Just get me across the causeway. Get me back to my island, please. And thank you. Low tide, I think I could drive across. We couldn't. It would totally destroy this vehicle's drivetrain. Seawater is not a vehicle's friend. There's the next piece of the big fucking thing that they're hauling. Yep, that is a wind turbine. That's the tower, and the piece that we saw is the part where they mount the props. I bet you that was fun getting across the causeway. But this cliff face is so cool. You're not going to be able to get a good look at it going this way. But this is all a concrete place. And then I don't know what they're doing here, but they load up these ships and send them off to various places, but it's pretty cool. You can't really get a good look at it, but yeah, it's pretty remarkable. But then at the other end of the causeway here, there's a spot for boats to go through. Sydney, so we want to be in the left lane. There we go. There we are. Now we're moving. So yeah, we're on 105. I made the interchange properly. Last time I went that way and I ended up all twisted around. You can go that way if you want, but it takes 15 minutes longer. And it's through some pretty rough country as far as hills. This is nice and straight. So, well, not straight, but it's less hairy. Let's put it that way. I will say this. Entering Canada, or well, leaving Canada to present myself for permanent residence and leaving Canada to come back for the vehicle export from the United States, I would not hesitate to go through the Calais border crossing. It's very quick. They're very good people on both sides, the U.S. border and the Canadian border. Both times that I went through there, they have been very professional, and it was about as perfect as it could be, all things considered. They helped relieve a lot of the stress I was feeling, but I'm home. I'm on Cape Breton Island now. Now we just take the ride home and to my house and get on with my life, get on with the channel, get on with everything. I'm leaving a lot of my frustration and my past in my rearview mirror. And we'll talk about that as I produce videos. We'll get into that a little bit more. And I do want to talk about mental health, as I've stated, because you can't do this alone. You can't face this world alone. And it's important to have a good team around you to help you out. Every time I see a view like this, I cannot believe I get to live here. It's amazing. It's so